Well, it's been a big week again for Keir Starmer, hasn't it? His fragile government has been rocked by another scandal. This week, Louise Haigh, the Transport, or should I say ex-Transport Secretary, has been forced out by Downing Street because of her prior fraud convictions. Now, she's claimed that she's told Keir Starmer all about these prior convictions. The conviction itself is that she had a phone stolen during a mugging, and that then she found the phone and failed to declare it, hence the former conviction. She's told Starmer about this conviction before, but Starmer's team are now saying that she didn't. So who's the Labour liar? Now, of course, Labour are now suffering from the same low bar that they set for resignations with Tory ministers. Louise Haigh is a prime example of this. She sent multiple tweets out saying that Boris Johnson and others should resign, simply, in some cases, because she didn't like them. But let's get back to the topic at hand here. If dishonesty gets you sacked, why is Rachel Reeves still the Chancellor? Allegedly, the Chancellor has lied on her CV and changed it multiple times. She can't answer a question. She did an interview the other day with ITV. She just can't answer the question. So my question to this panel is this whole government utterly incompetent, or is it compulsive lying?
Well, Nikki has come today to show us her collection of mobile phones.
Gathered from many lifetimes, yes.
Cases of insurance claims. But, Nikki, on a serious note, I mean, do you have any sympathy with Alex's argument?
A little bit. I mean, she's not on the scale of Boris Johnson, let's be clear. It's not that kind of Tory lying. We're not talking about proroguing Parliament and lying to the Queen. But, I mean, is it a spent conviction?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, that kind of, to me, that's the sticking point. If it was an unspent conviction, that's different.
But do you think that Starmer, has he lost his judgment?
Well,
I mean, he's got two cabinet ministers, one of which has allegedly lied on her CV and misled the electorate, and the other one has a fraud conviction that he's now saying, and his team is saying, they had no idea about. So my question was, is he incompetent, or is he just lying?
Well, he'll say, as a legal man, that actually a spent conviction doesn't need to be talked about anymore.
Yeah, well,
and we all believe that under the law.
Then why has she been sacked? Then why has she been sacked?
Because it's inappropriate, and it's about, we have set moral standards for politicians, and if they fall short of them, then they should be sacked. So it's appropriate to sack her.
But why is she there in the first place then?
Well, I don't. I mean, there just aren't enough good candidates. She isn't anyway. But Rachel Reeves, I do have sympathy with because she plagiarised half a book, and that's just not.
Well, she did.
I say as a writer.
My question is this, right? Nikki is right to say that her conviction is spent and no longer actually appears on her record, right? But the question I would have for you, Nikki, is when the Reform MP, James Murdoch, was dragged through the press and within Parliament itself, people calling for his suspension from Parliament because of a past conviction about 20-odd years ago or something like that, involving an assault. Now, there was no forgiveness there. Why should there be forgiveness for this case here and now?
Well, it's because it's to do with the victim of the crime, right? So apparently if you're frauding an insurance company, there's no person at stake. I mean, there always is someone at stake. We know that's how it works. Somebody would probably have got sacked for putting that claim through when it was revealed that it was false. But with something like an assault, you worry that's a behavioural condition of a person.
Right, but you know what I think?
The
problem is, you're right. I agree with everything you've said, apart from the fact that Keir Starmer has staked his government on being the sleaze-free party, the change. And he has also said and stood up and said, you can't be the lawmakers and the lawbreakers. So, unfortunately, he's been hoisted by his own petard.
Yeah.
Because these are his rules. And now he's falling short.
And he's been chipped up by his legal precedent as well, because he's just thinking with a legal head. And what he needs to think is with a moral head and how things are perceived. But I still stand by the fact that this is such a minor crime, considering when you compare it with what Boris Johnson did.
I really want someone to answer. Do they think it's incompetence?
I think it's
or
both.
is it lying?
Yeah. I think it's both.
Lying and incompetence?
It's not a mutually exclusive situation. I don't think we're quite hitting it. The key issue here is, did he know? And if he did know, he has to resign. Now, let me do my best Keir Starmer and admit some items into evidence. Admittedly, I'm not sure I can possibly be that uncharismatic, but let me try. Number one, the way that they're framing this is they're saying, well, more details have come to light, which implies that they knew that something was there from the outset. Number two, the way that these senior cabinet ministers are vetted is serious, they would have been able to pick this sort of thing up. And 3 Westminster talks. We all know Westminster talks. There is no way he didn't know this. And if he did know it and kept it here in the cabinet anyway, he has to resign.
But Will, let's just go back to Boris Johnson. You know, somebody who serially lied in very serious circumstances. Would you have asked him to resign?
No, because he didn't say that lawmakers can't be lawbreakers.
Oh my goodness! So that's the issue. Not the fact that he's an absolute blatant liar and criminal.
But look, you can't grandstand publicly on Twitter and on TV interviews and then expect the bar to be set differently.
It's a spent
I really
conviction.
have to come back to that statement on saying that what did you say? Boris Johnson is a...
I said he's a liar.
And he's broken the law.
He's criminal. Well, he broke his own COVID laws.
He had a piece of cake in number 10.
No, that still broke the laws that we weren't allowed to break.
So what about...
His law breaking was investigated by the police.
No laws were broken.
Did Starmer not break those rules then when he had a impromptu party where they ordered food in for 19
Oh, what, we
people?
saw in the office having a beer in the window?
Oh,
it's not the same.
Why is it not the same?
Laws are
Because
broken there.
it's the serialness of Boris Johnson's lying that's the issue. He has reduced our democracy. He's reduced the standard of the politicians we expect. And so Louise Haigh is nothing by comparison.
She herself tweeted about Boris Johnson being a fraudster, right, and said things to that effect.
Yeah.
Continue lying to the whole country and to the police. It is different lying to a whole nation when you're in office as opposed to lying to someone years ago on an insurance claim. I'm sorry, but it's not comparative.
Well, I certainly think it is. But on that wider point, Will, of forgiveness, do you think you can ever forgive people and have them come into public life? As in, they spend their conviction, it's off their record. Can we ever be a society that allows people to hold high office after being done for something?
Yes, but they have to be upfront about it. And this is part of a wider trend amongst this Labor government that they are not upfront about.
I agree with that.
No, and yes, but not when you're the one who has stood up and said very clearly that you are going to eradicate all of this law breaking because you can't be a lawmaker if you're a lawbreaker. Then you can't.
Yeah, exactly. They don't have a leg to stand on, effectively. But, I mean, Alex, on that, Nikki's points about comparing the 2 political parties, some people might say, well, plague on both their houses.
Yeah, well, I absolutely have. I believe there's a plague on both their houses, and I think most of the electorate are completely fed up with both parties, frankly. I'm fed up with the Tories. I mean, I didn't vote for the Conservatives despite being a party member up until recently, because I'm sick to death of it all. And look, I do think we've set the standards too high for politicians. They are human beings, but we do expect them to be better than us. And at this point in time, when we're looking at what's going on in the Labour government over not just, Haig's resignation, but Reeves's case with their CV, and then before that, the Lord Alley scandal, I think people are just going, what's changed? We got promised we're going to have change in this Labour government, and we've had nothing but more of the same.
Neil has said, who's a member, thank you, Neil, he says Boris got a fixed penalty notice. He did not defraud his employer and make a false statement to the police, as Haigh did. I mean... No,
but he just lied to the Queen and the whole country about his behaviour. I'm sorry, but he was Prime Minister. It is not comparable. He prorogued Parliament, and that was obviously proven. The system in which he did it was falsified. I mean,
and then he stood, and it was Jacob Rees-Mogg at the time who went to the Queen and had the conversation. Yes. But the problem there was they then faced an election and they could be held to be responsible for their actions.
Sure.
And also, so if the electorate said, I don't want to have a government that does this sort of thing, they could have kicked them out.
But those things shouldn't be separate. It shouldn't be that somebody breaks the law and then we unelect them to get rid of them.
About Louise, though. This is the problem. This is the fact.
Well, but apparently you're saying that Keir Starmer did.
But also, Boris ultimately cost him his job in the end. He did lose his job.
But not for that reason. Well, he lost his job because he lost his popularity.
I mean, Ian says that, Ian in Suffolk says, Darren, Louise should stand down as a Member of Parliament. Who thinks that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Oh, a by-election, Nikki. That would be fun.
Should me and you stand for it?
The worrying thing is it might be Nikki on the ballot.
My friends, if you're still watching, thank you very much. And I've got a request for you. Thanks to viewers like you, Recent UK, we're on a roll. We're standing up to the woke brigade and championing British pride, especially for the next generation. We're one of the only voices out there that are actually targeting young Brits, seeking to wake them up from this lefty fog and reminding them of what it means to be British. And here's the deal. I want us to go further than that. I want to see Reasoned take on the mainstream left-wing media, a dominant culture here in Britain. We're aiming to expand with more presenters, with hard-hitting documentaries, with live events, with crash courses, the lot. But for that, we need you. We're picking one day to fundraise for this next level project, and that's where you at home come in. We're asking if you'd sign up to share our fundraiser link with your friends and networks on the big day itself. It's a small ask with the potential for a massive impact. Plus, the top fundraisers, you'll bag yourself exclusive goodies and a chance to meet some very special guests, VIPs. More importantly, you'll be standing with us, rallying young Brits to the values that make this country great, as much as the left try and destroy it. So if you're in, click the Google form in the description below, drop in your details, and I'll be in touch. Cheers very much. Let's make it happen together.